Hi guys, welcome to this Chris Ryan golf video. I'm going to do a video here which is going to sort of cover ball position and sort of look at what happens when we move the ball around in our stance or relative to our body. So what we're going to do is look at how it can be useful and how it can be sort of detrimental to your game as well. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to assume that if I play the ball from the middle of my stance, so pretty central here, we're going to assume that when I swing that golf club, I've got a 7-iron here, that when I hit the golf ball, the club path is pretty much at my target. So it'd be zero. It wouldn't be to the right, it wouldn't be to the left, it would be at the point of contact. Momentarily, that golf club is travelling towards the target. Now, provided I can get the club face pointing at my target as well, that's going to give me a pretty neutral ball flight. Okay, so path pretty neutral, club face pointing at my target, straight ball flight. So what happens if I move that golf ball around in my stance? Well, if I were to move that golf ball a little bit further forward, so closer to the target, if my swing shape stayed the same, then because I hit that golf ball a little bit later in the arc, so 2 to 3 inches later in its swing, then the golf club is going to be starting to travel more left of target. So if I could measure my club path at contact, it's going to be some amount to the left of the target. The opposite would also apply. If I can move the ball a little bit further back in my stance, then I'm going to hit the ball slightly earlier in the arc, and the club path, is going to be slightly to the right of target. Okay, moving it back, we can't really say exactly that moving it back 3 inches is going to move the path this much to the right, but we know that as we move it slightly back, the ball, or the club path moves out to the right slightly. We'd also find that if we move it back, we're going to find that the angle of attack would be slightly more downwards. And if we move it slightly forward, the angle of attack would be slightly shallower or even maybe slightly upwards. Okay, and that goes hand in hand with the club path. So what does that mean for the golfer? Well, what it tends to mean is if you've got that golf ball very, very forward in your stance, it's going to be very, very difficult to get the club path to the right of target. I'm not saying it's impossible, because the more the ball moves forward, we could start to get more lateral move, and we could still probably get the path to the right, but what we're saying is the more the ball is forward, the less likely it is that you're going to be able to get that club path to the right of target. So if the club path is moving slightly left, then the shots we could get, pull hooks, pulls, fades, slices. So if we are trying to hit a right to left shot, a draw shot, we're going to find it quite difficult with the ball that far up in the stance. Vice versa, if I move the ball back in the stance this way, we're saying that the club path is more likely to be to the right. I'm going to find it very, very difficult to hit a fade shot. I'm going to find it very difficult to start the ball left and curve it to the right. So certainly the more common of those is when we see the ball very far forward, we see the club path to the left, and golfers are trying to hit this nice high right to left draw shot, but they're going to make it very, very difficult for themselves from that position. So what we just want you to understand is as the ball moves around in the stance, it's going to change the direction that the club is travelling as it hits the golf ball. Conversely, we can use this to help us create certain shots. So if I did want to play a slightly right to left shot on the golf course, so a draw shot for a right-handed golfer, moving that golf ball back in the stance is going to encourage the club path to go more to the right. It's not going to make it go there, but it's going to certainly be a contributing factor in making that club path go to there. Obviously, where the club face is relative to that path will sort of cause the ball to curve back to target or stay out right. If we start to see the ball move around extremely, so we get it very, very far forward and we get it very, very far back, we can start to see the swing shape changing. So I would often see when that ball gets a long way forward, we generally would see the golf club working over this way to reach that ball position that's very, very far forward in the stance. Vice versa, if we get the golf ball very, very much back in the stance, we'd see the golf club drop what we'd sort of term as underplaying or very shallow, and that allows me to hit this golf ball here. So we can actually use the golf ball to move the golf swing into some different positions. If we get a golfer who's up to the top and that golf club is moving very much overplaying, the club shaft gets very, very steep this way, and the golf club travels downwards and to the left through impact, getting them to hit a golf ball which is further back in their stance tends to see them stall everything with the body. It allows the arms to sort of fall more, and we can get this golf club striking this golf ball pretty well, and we're going to find hopefully that with that drill the club path would be more out to the right. So we can use the ball position as quite a powerful tool to change the golf swing. Going against that, if I get a golfer who's very, very much under this way here, tends to be sort of very much from the inside, club path very much out to the right. If I give them a starting position where the golf ball is a long way forward, I'm probably going to find that golfer works a little bit more this way to try and get to that golf ball. Okay. This tends to work better for a sort of more accomplished golfer, someone who's got a little bit more hand-eye coordination. But it's understanding the concept of ball position moving around can be good for your game if you're trying to move the ball a little bit left, a little bit to the right, but it's also be quite detrimental to your game if you're in the wrong position and it's encouraging the wrong move. So the more common of these we would see is a ball which is too far forward, and when that ball is too far forward, we tend to see more likely that the club path is to the left. Now, if we're trying to move the club path to the right, if we're trying to get that golfer to hit a more neutral shot, or perhaps they desire a right to left shot, if that ball stays this far forward, we'd understand that it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to move the path out to the right. They can do it, I'm not saying they can't, they can make a big lateral move, as I say, and we can still get this golf club hitting the ball earlier in the arc and the path more to the right, but it's making it more difficult. So if you're the kind of golfer who is hitting a right to left shot and it's too extreme, have a look at the ball position. Vice versa, left to right if it's too extreme. Start to have a look at where that golf ball is relative to your upper body and your stance, and just see whether moving that ball position around can help your game.